Hello everybody and welcome to the Google Sites Power Hour. In today's video, we're going to take a look at how to create a Google site. We'll look at templates for Google Sites. We'll look at how they're stored and how to organize the different sites that you make. Then we'll look at how to actually make a site, starting with a home page. Then we'll look at creating multiple pages for different purposes, how to organize them. Then we'll also talk about how to fill up your site with different types of media and other items. Then we'll talk about themes, and then we'll take a look at previewing and publishing your site. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's get started with creating a new site. So to get started, let's go ahead and go to our waffle. So again, the waffle, of course, is our little grid shape up in the top right when we're in a new Google page. You'll also find this in a couple other places. So we'll open up our waffle and we'll go find Google Sites. There it is right there. And we'll go ahead and open up Google Sites. All right, so from this page, this is our Google Sites homepage. If you're familiar with like the Google Docs homepage or Slides homepage, same exact idea. This shows you all of your current sites that you have that are stored in your drive, along with some templates. All right, so let's take a look at templates first. So of course, along the top row, we have our different templates, and if we can even open up the template gallery to see all of them that are available here. And there's a pretty good number of them here. They're all just kind of filled with some pre-made pictures and kind of some general ideas to kind of help you get started. For our purposes, we'll just start with a blank one for today, though. Now, when you create a Google site, like it says in our to-do list here, we have to talk about storage. So let's jump back real quick. I'm going to go into my Google Drive here. And just like all your other Google files, your sites that you make are going to be stored in your Google Drive just like everything else. All right. If you haven't organized them away or anything, they may be just kind of sitting loose on like the first level of your Google Drive. Or if you need to do a search, you can come up to this little search bar up in the top, click on the little drop down, and you can search by type, and then we'll find sites at the bottom of the list, and we can do a search that way, or you can narrow it down even further, and we can see the different sites that we have. Okay, so I just want to make that point. So again, you can store these things in your Google Drive and then move them around to different folders and add shortcuts and star them just to make it easier to find, just like your regular Google Docs or Slides. All right, so now that we have a site created and we talked about storage, now our next thing on the list here is creating a home page. All right, so of course, we're just going to start with the blank template here. And of course, first thing we want to do is give our site a name here. I'll just call this my class website. And of course, this might be our class website where we'll send parents and students and our other people that we work with, and they can all just kind of come to this website where they get all the information that they need about our class. All right, and then in the middle here, we have our title of this page. Usually it's kind of a good practice to have the first page on your website be a home page, meaning it's just kind of a general information page that will tell you what the website is about and be able to direct you to other pages within the website for different specific topics. So I'll just call this one home. Of course, we can call it whatever we like. All right, from here, we'll notice right below this home banner, we have kind of this blank white area. This is where we can start adding in information to our home page. Now, everything that we do in Google Sites is completely based on this Insert tab over here on the side. And this is where, of course, we can add text boxes, we can add images, we can embed items from other websites, we can embed items from our Google Drive, and we have all these different layouts here. These are just kind of like layout templates that kind of help you keep organized and make sure stuff looks nice. Then if we scroll down even further, we have all these other options as well. We have these collapsible text boxes here. We can make a table of contents that can jump you to different parts in your website. You have an image carousel, so if you have a bunch of images that you want to show, but you don't want to have them all shown at the same time, it basically creates a little slideshow of images for you. You can add buttons that you can link to other places in your website or to other websites. You can have a divider that will kind of keep the website kind of organized. It's just kind of a plain horizontal line to split up the page that we're on. You can also add your own placeholders here. So if you're designing the website here and you want to kind of just have a rough idea of how stuff is going to be laid out, you can put in placeholders. And then there's all this other stuff here. You can pull in YouTube videos, and you can embed a calendar, embed a Google map, embed a doc, a slide, a sheet, a form, a chart. So you can have all these different things that you can embed right into the website. There's no coding that you have to do here. It's all just basically just clicking and dragging. All right. So let's go ahead and just start with one of these little layout templates here, and let's just do this first one. I'll just give it a click, and of course it's going to drop it right here on the page for me. And of course this template that I chose kind of has this placeholder box, and it has a text box sitting here ready for me. All right, so let's start with a picture here. So let's go ahead and give it a click on that plus button. And maybe I'll upload a picture. Of course, you have all these other things you can do. So you can upload pictures. You can also pull in videos and maps and stuff as well. For me, I'll go ahead and upload something. I think I'll upload my picture here. There we go. I'll put in a picture of my handsome face there. And I can, of course, resize it to whatever sizes that I like. It behaves just like a normal picture when you're when you're editing stuff in like a Google slide. Just click and drag from the sides or from the corners, and then you can make it bigger or smaller. All right, and then over here in the text box, let's go ahead and make our welcome message here. And I'll put in my welcome message, and I'll say, welcome to our class website. This is where you will find all sorts of information about our class, and that could be homework, student spotlights, contact information, and more. Okay, and there we go. Very simply, we have our first page done. Now, a new thing that Google has recently added to sites is the ability to customize text more. So we have a lot more text options than we used to. So if you've used Google Sites in the past, going back a long time, in the old Google Sites, this was already a thing. When they transitioned over to the new Google Sites that we've been using for about 2 years now, you lost the ability to put in specific types of fonts and all this different sort of stuff here. Now we can do that. They recently changed that again here. So if I don't like this particular font I'm using, I can change this up to whatever I like. So I'll maybe want to have a different font here, and I can scroll through. Maybe I'll use one of my favorite ones. Let's see, which one do I like? I like Luckiest Guy. That's the one I'm looking for. That's one of my favorite ones. I like that one a lot. That's a cool font. And again, I can make it bigger if I'd like to. Make it a little bit bigger. Make it bold. Maybe I'll make it italics. Maybe make it underlined. I can also change the font color. So if I wanted to kind of match with the theme of the website I'm trying to make, I can do that. Same thing for bodies of text as well. So of course we can change the font and style of this one as well, and we can pick through all these different fonts. Of course, there's a lot of them in here. You can pick whichever one that you'll like. If you want to pick on more fonts here, just click on that very first button when you're selecting font and just click more fonts. And from here, you can find a ton more. You can filter out by like handwriting style, or if it's like monospace or serif, or popularity or alphabetical. So you can filter through a ton of all these different fonts in here and just kind of look through and find whatever you like. So it gives you a lot of customization there. Okay, and of course you can still set this to be different size templates, like title, heading, or subheading. You can change your, you can put in a custom link rather. So if you want to drop in just a particular link to something, you can of course just highlight whatever sentence or word that you want and drop in a link to whatever website you need it to go to. And again, you can change up the alignment. You You can have it be numbered. You can have it be bullet pointed. Under more is where you can change the line spacing and indents. You can put in a strike through. You can also put in code font if you need to. And you can also clear formatting as well. Okay, so again, there's lots of different formatting options there just for your regular text. Again, that's a relatively new thing in sites. All right, so there is kind of a quick little look at creating a home page. Now, of course, you can put in as much information in here as you'd like I said. So let's actually go ahead and make another page that will go into like more detail about a different topic. So like I said, kind of in my welcome page here, I said this website, it will show off homework things, it'll have student spotlights, it'll have my contact information and more. So let's make a page for kind of each one of these big things that I mentioned. All right, so let's start with making a homework page. So this one single page is going to just mention all the homework stuff that people need to know. So we're going to come up to the Pages tab up here in the top right. And we'll go down to this little plus. And we're going to add a new page. I'll call this one Homework. And we'll click on Add. Now notice that we're basically just back to where we started with our home page, but now we're on a whole different page. Right? And then we just jump back to our Insert section again, and then we start adding in whatever information that we like. So if, for example, we use Google Calendar as a way to organize like all the list of homework items that we have, what we can do is we'll go find our calendar icon, and then we can go pick which calendar is going to be embedded here on the website. Now the cool thing is, if you also use Google Classroom, the assignments that you set due dates for in Google Classroom will automatically be put onto that Google Classroom's calendar, and by in turn it'll show up here on the website if you embed it here. All right, so I have all these different Google Classrooms here, so I'll just grab this my Google Classroom Q2 calendar, and we'll drop it on the website. Okay, now we'll stretch it out to make it nice and big here, so it kind of fits the whole screen. Maybe I'll even make it a little bit taller. There we go, something like that. And now for me, I kind of like to see the month view. Kind of by default, it'll drop you on the agenda view. And people will still be able to click and look at this calendar. It's not just like a static picture that's being dropped here. It's actually like the interactive calendar. But we can change some settings here by clicking on that little settings gear. And we can change some options here. So we can decide whether or not to show the title, show the date, these navigation buttons, time zones. So we have all this stuff that we can pick. I think the big thing here though is the view mode. So of course, for me, I kind of like to have the month view personally, whatever kind of works best. But I'm going to change this over to month view. And of course, this will drop in, kind of change up how the calendar looks on the page. All right, and then of course we see we have our, whatever assignments that we have listed on this calendar here. Okay, very simple thing to do here. And of course we can add more information. So it might be a good idea. Maybe I'll add in some information here. Maybe I'll put in the link to my Google Classroom. So let's go ahead and put that in here. So let's go ahead and put in some text. So let's put in a text box here. And maybe I'll just say, use this page to stay on top of homework assignments for class. If I can spell assignments right, there we go. All right, so there we have that. And maybe I'll style it up a little bit more. I'll make a title, and I'll put it on my favorite luckiest guy. I like that one. Okay, I'll shrink that down just a little bit. There we go. Maybe I'll center it. As you can see, I'm just playing around with this stuff. It's kind of fun to do this, not going to lie. Anyway, so there's our kind of title here. There's our calendar. And maybe we also want to have a link in here that says, something along the lines of all these assignments are going to be through Google Classroom, or how to access these assignments. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's do a button for this one. So we're going to drop a button in here. And let's say... I'll put in all assignments are all assignments that are listed. All assignments listed are in Google Classroom. Okay, and then we'll just put in the link to Google Classroom. For this one, you can just put in classroom.google.com. You can do that. If you want to give the specific link to your classroom, what you can do is, let's go ahead and open up Classroom real quick. We can actually give the specific link to Classroom. So if I want to use this Classroom, so if I want to give the exact link to on the website to go into this classroom, what we'll do is we'll first go into the Google Classroom that we need. We'll go into the little settings gear up here, and then what we're going to look for is this invite link here, and we can just copy this, and we can also drop this in here instead of the kind of the plain classroom website. Okay, and we'll center that up. Oh, one thing I should mention here, you'll notice when I'm moving this button, again, you'll notice I kind of resized it so it fit, but you'll notice when I moved the button here, these little blue lines show up when I'm centered, so that'll tell you, just to kind of keep stuff organized, make sure it looks nice, you can kind of organize it in that way. Okay. There we go. If you want to make any changes to it, you can double click on top of it again and make whatever changes that you like. Notice again, you can change up how the button looks, whether it's just like filled in like this with that color, or outlined, or it could just purely be text, whatever you like best. Okay. And then just like that, we have a homework page done. All right, now let's make one more page for another purpose here. So like I mentioned back over in the home page, we can actually click on our little navigation buttons up here at the top to switch between our different pages. And let's see, the other thing I mentioned was student spotlights. All right, so let's go ahead and make a student spotlight pages. So let's go into pages again, and let's create another page. And I'll call this one student spotlight. There we go. And for me, the one thing that I don't like here is how Student Spotlight was in that position. Maybe I want Student Spotlight to be like the last thing in this row here up at the top. So all I have to do is just drag these items here and just move them around. It's all just dragging and dropping. You'll notice you can even make subpages in the exact same way. Just drop one page on top of another, and now you can have a subpage, and it'll be kind of like underneath one of the different pages. All right, so in this case, though, I'll keep Student Spotlight as its own page, but I want it at the end of the list. All right, so let's go ahead and make another thing here. So student spotlights, of course, this could be on our site. This could be things that are, showing off all the good work that our students have been doing. Like in this case, maybe I would do an image carousel. And so again, an image carousel lets you show off multiple images, but it doesn't take up a whole bunch of space. It lets you just kind of flip between images. And so if we just click on this, we can either upload an image or select an image. If we click on select, you of course can pull things from your Google Drive. So if you have some pictures that your students sent in, you can just pull them right from your Google Drive. If they turn them in through Google Classroom, you can pull them from that Google Classroom's folder. So if you go to your My Drive and then we go and find our Classroom folder, then we can open up the folder for that classroom. I have a lot of different classrooms I use, so that's why it's taking a minute. But you'll open up that classroom, find that activity, and you'll be able to pull in that picture that they leave for you. Okay. All right. For our purposes here, just to demonstrate, we'll just pull in some Google images here. I'll just search for like students. And we'll drop in one picture. Let's drop in another. And we'll just add in a couple just so we can kind of see the demo purposes here. And we'll do one more. Perfect. All right. And another thing you'll notice here is we have a little settings gear for this image carousel. And from here, we can show these little dots that will let people, when they visit the website, click between the different dots to see the different pictures. You can have captions there if you like, so if you want to caption the pictures, you can. You can have the carousel auto start, so it'll just transition between pictures after every few seconds. So in this case, I'll probably turn that one on as well, and maybe have the transition speed go pretty quick between the pictures. And then we'll just say insert. Okay, and just like that, we have an image carousel on our page. And again, this one's kind of big, so maybe I'll shrink it down just a little bit there. Okay. And of course, if we want to add a little, like, add some information, or add another text box in here, of course, we can do that. Okay. If we want to add a caption to an image, since we turned that option on in settings, this show captions button, once we have a picture in here, we can add a caption, and we just hover over that little caption icon and say, great job, kids. Okay, and now when somebody is looking at the site, they'll see this little caption down at the bottom when they're flipping through the image carousel. All right, so just to be clear, this will only work for picture files. If you want to show off other student work, you of course can upload things directly from your drive. So all you have to do from that is come over to the Insert tab and click on Drive. And again, we can pull anything that we have in our drive and embed it right here on this website. And it's not just going to be like a link to go look at something. It'll actually embed the actual file, whatever it is. Okay, so for example, if a student did, let me try to find an example here. Here we go. So if they did this activity here, and this was a Google Doc that had some drawings on it, and there was some text, and there was like a little picture on there. There we go. And so we can have this doc sitting here right on the website. And of course, when people come and visit the website, they won't have to go and look, other places or anything. They'll be able to see the good work that the kids are doing. All right. Of course, we can resize these things to whatever we like. So if we want to add more of a caption over on the side, we can do that. So if I want to have like some text over here, I can drop in a text box. Maybe I'll resize this, make it a little bit smaller. And then we'll just drag it on over with that little grid thing there. You notice it has this those little 8 dots there at the top of that little text box. And we can resize it, and again, we can draw in whatever we want, or type in, rather, whatever captions or things that we want. Okay. And just like that, that's pretty much what there is to building the website. You'll find that the biggest thing here is not that it's hard to use. The biggest thing with putting a site together here is deciding what is going to go in the website and just kind of laying it out, because you end up playing with it a good amount of the time. All right. So next thing we want to talk about here is styling up the website here. So a couple of things. Let's go back to the home page to kind of start with here. And what we can do is, among other things, is we can change this background kind of header image here. So the blank template that we started with is just this like kind of gray thing, kind of background picture. Of course, we can change this by hovering over this header, and then going over to this change image button here. And of course, we can upload our own picture, or we can select an image. If you do upload your own picture, you will have to do a pretty high resolution picture because it's going to be stretched out pretty big. So just kind of be aware of that. If you want to do your own picture, make sure it's really high resolution, or else it's going to be kind of fuzzy because it's going to get stretched out a lot. Right, but of course you can also select an image here. They'll have a bunch of kind of pre-made pictures that fit nicely here, and there's a good number of them. Some of them are just kind of more plain, some of them are more like picture-y and stuff. So there's a lot of different options for you to check out. All right, so when you find one that you like, you can just kind of click it and drop it into your website, or again, of course, you can find your own. So in my case here, maybe I'll do my favorite color is green, so I'll do the green one. There we go. And another thing we can also do from here is we can also change our header type. What this is going to do is change how this background header image here looks when somebody visits the website. So let me show you what I mean. Let's do a preview real quick. We'll talk more about preview in just a little bit. But when we do a preview, we can see this is what the header banner image looks like. So it takes up about half of the screen, and it's just a kind of a top banner thing. Now, you have a couple options for changing this. Now, if we go to header type, we can do a cover where it completely covers the home page. You have to actually scroll down to be able to start looking at the actual content of the page. So notice when we're in the page here, this is all we see. It's just this home stuff. Then once we start scrolling down, then we can start seeing all this other stuff. So that's the cover page style. You can do large banner, which is kind of just a bigger version of the original banner that we started with, where it takes up about 2/3 of that first page. Or you can also do title only. This one's very simple, of course. This one will let you just have a kind of a heading at the top, but that's kind of it. It's not going to be a big, kind of like a big thing. So just have a very simple image there for you. It's kind of plain color. So if you have a lot of stuff on your website, maybe you want to keep it nice and simple, of course you can do that as well. All right. All this stuff is just style choices, but I just wanted to show you a couple of those options there. All right. Other things that we can also do in terms of styling. So let's go back to banner here. And another thing that we can also do is we can change up how navigation works. So of course, when we made these different web pages, we have one for home, one for homework, and one for student spotlight. Of course, they're just kind of listed across here at the top, and when people come and visit the website, they'll just click between the different pages. Okay, pretty easy, right? What we can also do, though, is we can change up how the navigation works. So what we'll have to do is hover at the very top of our page here, and notice way on the left side we're going to have this little gear, and this will be our navigation settings. And this is where we can decide if it's going to be top navigation like it is now, or side navigation where all the different pages are going to be listed down the left hand side. Okay, we can also change the color to whatever we like as well. All right, so let's see what that looks like now. So I just saved that. Let's do another preview just so we can look at it. Okay, notice that changes up a lot how the class website navigation looks. And now these are stuck over here on the side. All right, so that's just another little option there for you. All right, other things in that same menu here. Of course, like we said, we can change the color if we like for that stuff. That'll change up how it looks on the heading. And when the side part opens as well. Under brand images, this is where you can put in a logo and or a favicon. A logo is going to be uploaded and it's going to show up at the top of the website. A favicon is the little icon that shows up in the tab section. So the favicon is this thing right here. So if you see where my cursor is pointing at, it's that little icon that's there that lets you know what website that you're on. So you can actually customize that. By default, it'll just be the Google Sites icon. If you want to give it something special, put in your own picture, you can. All we have to do is just go into either select or upload, and we just drop in whatever picture that we like. So if I just do like a book, for example, maybe we'll do this picture there. Okay, and so this is the little symbol people would see when they come and visit my website. If we do a logo, again, this will show up on the top of the actual website, like in the web page. And again, we can search for whatever we like. So maybe I'll do like a globe, something like that. Okay, and then there we go. Notice it also gives you select a color to use for your theme, so this can kind of help to kind of dictate what your theme will look like for your the color of your whole theme. We'll talk more about themes in just a little bit. Okay. In viewer tools, this is where you can have some more information on like analytics and things like that for when you're looking at when people visit your website rather. You can also add in an announcement banner. So this is another cool thing. So this banner is displayed above your content, and if we turn this option on here, we can change the color and stuff to, maybe I'll just leave it on that gray, and this will basically create a little banner like pop-up thing, and you can put in any sort of like special announcements, any like big reminders or things like that. So if we say, don't forget parent teacher conferences are coming up. Label that PTC, and then link, maybe if we had like a page for parent-teacher conference information, we'll just kind of pretend that we do here. And we can decide whether or not when somebody clicks on that banner, that little pop-up, is it going to open in the same tab, or is it going to open up in a new tab? And then same thing for visibility here. Do we want them to only see it when they first come to the website on the home page, or is it going to show up on all pages? Okay. And then just like that, we're going to have this little banner here that will open up. And then when somebody clicks on this little PTC button, it'll take them over to that whatever particular page I set it to go to. Okay. For other things that you can also do in here, you can also put in a link to another page, to a completely other website rather. So it doesn't have to be, only a page in your website. It could be a page, it could be a sign up form or something. It could be the school's website. It could be a different article to go read or something like that. It could be a video to watch, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be a page in your website. It could be a link from the complete outside. So I could just make it go to www.google.com. I can just do that, and then it would be kind of the same idea. Okay, and let's do a little preview what that'll look like. So again, we'll have that little banner up at the top, and because I set it to be open on every tab, it'll have this little button here, and then I'll make them go to whatever website that I'm asking them to go to. Okay. All right, a couple other things here as far as styling goes. So you'll notice when I changed my theme color, when I was under brand images, it let me pick a color for my theme. That one's just kind of based off whatever colors are in your logo. It's just kind of a suggested thing, just so that the colors kind of match. You can customize your theme and your colors all from this Themes tab up in the top right. So remember earlier we were in the Insert tab and the Pages tab. Themes is that last one there. And this one will kind of give you some different styles. There's not a ton. There's only like 5 or 6 here to choose from. But they get the job done because you can still customize them further. So if I wanted to change up the style completely, notice it kind of changed up how this whole page looked, kind of changed the whole color aesthetic. And notice we can even change the color from here as well, from these little dots. Or again, you can put in a custom color that you'd like. So if you want to do more of a red color maybe. So change it over to red, I can do that. Okay. You can even put in the hex code, so if you have a very specific color in mind, you can also do that. Okay. As in terms of font style, you have 3 choices here. Here you can pick modern, classic. No, kind of keep an eye on the top part here, the heading there. Modern, classic, or bold. Okay. Of course, those are the ones that are going to kind of dictate what you have originally when you're typing in text. Of course, like I said, you can still change this up further to whatever other font and style that you want, just by going into that text box and changing it up to whatever you like. Okay, but it's a starting point. All right. So then once you have a style that you like, again, you can kind of pick whatever floats your boat. You can pick whatever kind of style that you like the most. And that's pretty much what there is to styling. So what I would kind of recommend here is taking a pause and pausing off this video and go and practice some of this stuff that we talked about so far. So far we covered creating a Google site, either from scratch or from a template. Then we talked about storage, how to kind of keep them organized in Drive. Again, you can star them or move them around, put them into folders, just like any other regular file in your Drive. And then we looked at creating a homepage and creating multiple pages and adding in some media and other items and doing some themes. All right. Now, I kind of recommend pausing here and going and playing around for like 5 or 10 minutes to kind of get a feel for Google Sites, especially if you've never really used Google Sites before. I recommend taking about 10 minutes or so and going and playing around a little bit. Okay, and then come back into the video and we'll talk about previewing and publishing your site once you're ready to go. All right, so go ahead and do that, and then pause the video, and then come back and continue. All right, everybody. So let's now talk about previewing and publishing your site. So let's start with previewing, of course. So you saw me do it earlier in the video here, but we just come up to this symbol right up here, this little preview button. And when we come in here, this will give us a preview, of course, of our website for what it's actually going to look like for people that come and visit the site. Now, one thing you may have noticed is we have these buttons down here at the bottom. This will give you a different view of how your website will look depending on the device that's being used. All right, so when we are on a desktop or a large screen or a laptop, this is the page as people will see it. Notice we can also change it over to a tablet, so this is how people will see it when they're looking on the website as from a tablet. And then there's also a smartphone view as well. Okay, so this is the cool thing about sites is it makes all these different variations of how your site is going to be looked at right here in this preview page. So there's nothing extra that you have to do. Okay. All right. So now let's mention collaborators before we go into publishing. So just like your other files that you do in the Google world, you can add collaborators that will come in here and work with you at the same time. And so what we can do is come up to our little share button. So the same symbol that we've seen a million times in the in the Google world here, and we just click and share this with others, and it works pretty much exactly the same as it works with sharing like a simple Google Doc with another person. All right. So if I send this over to a different account, I can decide how they are going to be able to look at my site. Under the editor, under this little drop down here, it's going to be set to editor. This is, of course, will let them come in here and help me work on the site. I can also allow them to be a published viewer. So this is kind of another thing that we can also do. When we publish, again, we'll talk more about publishing in a little bit, we have a lot of options when it comes to that. So we have, when it comes to sharing with individual people, though, again, we have options here. We can share it to another person to allow them to work on it with us, or we can make sure they're somebody who can view the website once it's actually published. Okay, so in this case here, I'll probably have them be an editor. I can drop in whatever message that we want, and of course, we'll just send that out. And that will go out to that other account. And let's jump into that other account real quick just to see what it's going to look like. And we'll jump in here. If I selected the right account, I'm not even sure if this was the right one. I have so many accounts. There we go. So here we go. Here is our email that we got. You've been invited to edit the following site. And then we can just open it up just like we do with any other regular file. It works exactly the same, even though it's a website, not just a plain old Google Doc. But the process, again, is exactly the same. Then we can open it up and we start working on the site along with another person. Of course, we have all the same buttons and tools. We can do all the same stuff that we were doing before. Okay, so collaborating is the exact same process as kind of it's always been. Now you may ask, well, what about shareable links? So notice when we click on the share icon and we go down to the links section, this is where we can decide who's going to be able to look at the published site and who's going to be able to look at the draft, meaning the edited version. Okay, so if we put it on, if we go under the draft section here, we can decide how the sharing is going to work. So again, just like a regular old Google Doc, we can decide, is the site going to be available for people through a link in a restricted manner, meaning with very specific people that we put in? Can we allow it to go out through a link to anyone in our organization? Of course, in my case, it's Neonet. Or is it out there on the internet? Anyone with a link can come in here and help work on the website. Okay, and then when it comes to the published site, again, we'll kind of come back to this in a little bit here, but we'll talk about how the published site can be viewed. Okay, now, when it comes to students using Google Sites to make like a website for themselves, and that's a really good activity, especially for like project-based learning. That's a really awesome activity that kids can do to demonstrate what they learned. And there's tons of examples out there that will show you crazy awesome things that kids have made just through Google Sites. Just take 5 minutes and go Google student Google Sites projects, and you'll see awesome stuff. Now, if you want students to work on like websites together, like in groups, we can basically do that in a pretty simple way. Basically, what we would do, and we'll just kind of use Google Classroom kind of as the distributor here, is we can create these assignments here that will kind of group students together. Again, we can do this with or without Google Classroom, honestly. And what we can do, though, is we could create an assignment here, and we'll just call this website. We'll add in the website that we've been working on today, and we'll drop in. There's my class website here. And notice we can allow students to view, or we can allow them to edit this file. So what this means is, as the teacher, we can basically give students a template to start with, allow them to edit it, and then we can assign it out to students, and they can all work together as one giant group on this website. Or we can also distribute this this template rather, only to a few students. Of course, in this example Google Classroom I only have 2 students to start with. But imagine if you only picked 2 or 3 or 4 students for each one, where you give them a different template or kind of a different starter. So what if we did this? I'll just change the title so it's kind of a little bit easier to start. I'll say student website template 1. And then what I can also do is I'm going to go and do duplicate site from this little 3 dots up here. And I'll change the name. I'll call this student website template 2. And that's fine, I'll save in the same spot. It's going to make a copy of that site. Okay, it might take a minute because there's a lot of stuff in this site for it to do. But imagine we have website. I'll call this website activity, and this is group 1. And then we can put in, this is student 1. I'll put an actual name. So we, maybe we have Andrew, Betty, and Chris in this group. And then, of course, I would pick those students from this little drop-down list in Classroom, and I'll make sure they can edit the file. And then we go ahead and assign it out. Okay. And then we create another activity here. I'll call this the same thing. Site activity. And this will be group 2. And this is, David, Emily, and Frank. Okay, and we add in from Google Drive. We'll add in that second version, that duplicate of our site here. So here's our student website template 2. Make sure they can edit. Well, then we'll pick those students again from the drop and kind of pretend that they're here. This is, of course, just a demo site, a demo Google Classroom. But anyway, imagine if those students were here in this list, and that way these individual Google sites are then given out to those specific students and groups, and they're already ready to go. Okay. So that's one option for getting students out there to go do these different activities. Okay, through Google Sites and using Google Classroom. Now, if you don't need to use Google Classroom, or if you don't want to have to make those templates for students to start with, students can clearly just make these things themselves. And the pretty simple solution there is creating your different teams, your different groups of students, assign one student from each group as kind of like the team leader, and they're going to be responsible for making the Google Classroom and sharing making the Google site rather, making their Google site, and then adding the other kids that are in their group as collaborators on that site. So they're able, all 3 or 4 of them, whatever, to work on the site together. That's the idea. Okay, so again, that's kind of the idea of using sites as a student-focused tool. Again, especially for project-based learning, it's absolutely perfect for that. Okay. All right, hopefully that all makes sense. So let's kind of go into our last bit for today, and we'll talk about publishing your site. All right, so of course there's a big old publish button when you're in Google Sites here, way up in the top right. Once we click on published, we have the option to customize a part of the web address here. So of course the beginning is always going to be sites.google.com/your-organization, and then after that / is where you can customize a bit of the web address. Okay. Again, this part does have to be unique, so nobody else in your organization can have the same exact ending. So kind of be careful of that. You might maybe have like your last name. You don't have to have anything special in here. You can just hit random letters and numbers, and that would be fine as well. Whatever you want, of course, you can do that. All right, so I'll just call this Neeson class. Okay. And it'll verify it for you to make sure it's not taken so that you can use it. Okay. Then below that here, we can decide how this is exactly going to be published. So let's click on this manage option here. So when we click on manage, we can decide again how students are going to be able to look at this website. And again, we can decide if we're going to just share this with some specific people. Notice, of course, since I put this through Google Classroom, it already has those guys listed, which is fine. Or again, we can put in specific people if we want, or again, we can come down here under links and decide how this published site is going to be accessible. Okay, so for the published site, is it going to be restricted to only the people in this top part list here, or is it going to be people just in our organization? So of course, mine says Neonet, so they have to be logged in with a school account. Is it going to be public? Or are you going to turn off the link completely? Okay. For our case, maybe I'll make this one actually public, so parents can get to it, people in the community can get to it. It's public. It's publicly out there. All right. And again, we can come in here whenever we want and change this setting, and we can unpublish the site whenever we want as well. Okay. So we'll click on done. And now we can, if you have this be public, it gives you this extra option here for search settings. Request public search engines do not display my site. Probably in most cases, yeah, you'd probably want to turn that on, just so it kind of lowers the chance of anything weird or any strangers coming in or things like that. Okay, but then once we're done, we'll just click on publish, and it's going to go ahead and publish this site for us. And at first glance, you're going to be like, okay, well, did it work? Yes, the way to tell is if we have this little drop down next to publish. If we have that button, we can click on this thing here that says view published site. And this will take us to the actual site that this website is creating. And here it is. This is the actual website. And again, I can flip between the different pages. I can click on these different links that I've created. I can go around and do whatever I need to do. Okay. And of course, from here, if there's any other changes that you want to make, you can just come back into the site. Again, either going through your Google Sites through the waffle, or just opening it up from Google Drive. Click on that Sites icon for this site, come in here and make whatever changes that you want. So, for example, if I wanted to make maybe another page, because right now I have home, homework, and student spotlight. Maybe if I want to make like a parent FAQ page, I can come into pages, make a new page. Parent FAQ. Oops, FAQ. There we go. And we'll say done. And of course, we can add in what other information that we like. Now, it does not update directly over to the published version. So if you do make changes, if you get rid of things or if you add things in, what we'll do is we'll have to come over to our publish button again. And when we click right on the publish button, it'll show you the draft versus what's currently published. And it'll list off any changes that you made over here on the left-hand side. Okay? And if that all looks good, we can just go ahead and do publish, and it's going to update the website to now include whatever other changes that you made. So, of course, in my case, I just added a new page. All right, I'll have to refresh it from over here, though. Give it a refresh. Let me give it one more refresh here. There we go. And so now we have our parent FAQ page. Again, this is the live website we're looking at here. And so now I have this parent FAQ page. Okay, so all this stuff is again relatively easy to use. There's just kind of a lot to know, but that's pretty much what there is to it. The last thing I'll show you is if you need to unpublish your site, take the website completely down so nobody can get to it. Besides Collaborators, we can just go under our publish options next to publish, and we just click unpublish. Again, you can do this anytime, and you can put the website back up anytime as well. Okay. And just like that, the website is no longer going to be accessible. So let me give this a refresh and I'll show you here. This is what people will see if they try to go to this website. They won't be able to get in anymore. Okay. If they put in even if they put in the web address exactly right, they're just going to get an error saying it's unpublished. They can't get in. Okay. So that pretty much will take us down to the end here. Let's jump back over here and we'll look at our to-do list again. So we created a new Google site. We looked at some templates. We looked at how to store them, again, just through Google Drive, just like anything else. Then we took a nice deep dive into Google Sites, creating a home page, creating multiple pages for different purposes, dropping in different media, dropping all the different sorts of things into our web pages. Then we looked at some themes and some styling things. Then we looked at previewing and publishing our site. All right, so that is pretty much going to bring us down to the end for this video, you guys. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Take care.